Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a new layout and video to share for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm going to be using a cut file today that Paige designed. It's called Happy Halloween, and I've already cut it on some white textured cardstock, and I'm going to be scrapbooking two pictures today. This is at my body pump class last year. We dressed up for the Halloween launch, and it's a picture of me dressed like a dork from the 80s, and then two of the other instructors. And so just some fun, colorful pictures that I thought would go well with the Scenic Route collection. And so that's what I'm going to use today. And this cut file, like I said, it's called Happy Halloween, and it is the 13th and final cut file in Paige's 13 Days of Halloween cut files. And I'm going to link that down below if you want to purchase the bundle. There are 13 different ones that have been showcased the past 13 days. Lots of inspiration on how to use all of these cut files. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of trimming out a couple of the inside pieces where the letters overlap. And then I'm going to back the cut file using different pattern papers from the Go the Scenic Route collection. And I have chosen a few. My photos have some bright pink and a little bit of black, some pops of turquoise, just bright colors, but also some black. And so I thought that I would go bright with the cut file and then add in some darker elements with the mixed media. So I've got my papers here. Now some of these are numbered papers, and then some of them are from the 12 by 12 paper pad. The first thing I'm going to do is cut out this pumpkin using one of the ombre pattern papers there, and I want to make the pumpkin solid, and the pumpkin is going to sit on top of the cut file. And then for the letters, I'm going to trace each one on a certain part of each of these papers and then cut it out and then glue it directly behind the open spot. So this is just one way to back a cut file. You can just go the old-fashioned route and trace it and then glue it down. You could also glue it down first and then cut around. So there's lots of different ways to do this. I love backing cut files. I think it is a fun and easy way to get a lot of color on your layout, lots of pattern on your layout, but it's in small doses because it's just in, each individual letter is a different part of the paper. So you could do this in so many different ways. So I'm going to go with a couple of varieties of pinks. I'm going to add in some oranges, some yellows, and some blues. And this is going to be a non-traditional color scheme for a Halloween layout, but it goes with my photos. I wasn't really feeling a spooky just black and orange vibe, so I wanted to go bright and colorful, and I feel like it matches pretty well. So I love how that turned out. I've got all the letters done. I love that there's some pop of that dark blue, some deep oranges, and I'm going to put the cut file up top of the page. And I kind of played around with it, but I like the way it looks up at the top with the photos below it, because if you notice the size of my photo there, it just wedges right up in between the L and the E, or as Jen Scow would say, the word nestling, it nestles just perfect up there. And I thought, okay, it's got to go there. It was meant to be. It fits perfectly. So I ruffled up the edges of the pumpkin to give it a little bit of dimension and texture, and then added some adhesive foam behind it and went ahead and glued that down. And I love how the pumpkin kind of stands up a little bit higher than the letters. Just makes it a little more 3D. So my background is going to be, I think this is textured. Yeah, this is textured white cardstock, and I'm using clear gesso to coat on the background because I'm going to do lots of mixed media behind where the cut file and the photos are going to go, and I don't want my colors to just soak right through the page. I want them to run around the page and blend and spread, and so the gesso is going to allow that to happen. So here's where I'm going to take a big risk, and at first you're probably going to gasp and say, oh no, what are you doing? I'm going to go dark on the mixed media, and I don't think I've ever, well, no, let me take that back. I know I've used black on a background with the packaging technique, but it's been a long time. So what I'm doing is I've got two shimmer sprays here, and I'm going to do the good old-fashioned packaging technique, plastic packaging here. So the two Shimmerz colors that I have are Night Moves, which is their black spray, has no shimmer to it. And then I'm going to mix in a little bit of Vibes Gray Flannel, which is a shimmery, deep, almost like a gunmetal gray color. And add a little bit of water to it. I need to clean my black spray bottle there. The nozzle kept getting clogged. So I just, I can't be bothered with that right now because I'm on a mission. So I'm going to take care of that later. So I'm going to take the nozzle out and just make a bigger mess. Yeah, I should have just went and cleaned it, but who has time for doing the things that you should do, right? When you're on a mission and you're making a layout and it's going, you just got to go with it and make it work. So yeah. Anyway, this looks like a big, dirty mess, right? Just bear with me. It's going to make sense later, I promise. But yeah, I was kind of nervous to do this because it is so dark and bold on the white. But my thought process was I've got the bright colors in the cut file and the bright photos, which do have a little bit of black in them. But I wanted this to still come across as a Halloween layout. And I thought, obviously the two most popular Halloween colors are orange and black. And I do have a little bit of orange, but I wanted a significant more amount of black. So that's where this comes in. And I think it turns out really nice once it's all done. The making process here can be scary because, you're taking a risk adding all this color, and are you adding too much? Is it running too many places? And, I'm trying not to cover up the whole thing. But so far, this is what I've got. It's pretty much dry. And I like how it looks kind of like a dark and stormy night behind the title. And that's kind of the look I was going for. But I felt like it needed to be even darker. So we're going back to the black, which is the Night Moves, and the gray flannel, and we're going to do another coat. Yeah, it's going to get darker in some areas, but I wanted it to look, like I said, like a dark and stormy sky at night. And I think I achieved that once it's done. But yeah, I haven't used a packaging technique like this in a while to make an entire big background. And it's so much fun. All you need is some plastic that you got some stickers or something in. And yeah, just spray right onto it and then turn it over and basically just press down on it. And you get this really fun effect. I like to add water to it sometimes to dilute the color and help it run and spread even more, and then use a brush to kind of help the edges. So now I'm going to take the gray and just spray it directly onto the background and just keep working at it until I get it like I like it. I like to bring the cut file back from time to time and kind of place it on there, or my photos, just see how it looks. And I love that. Okay, so the background is pretty much done at this point. And I love how that looks. It totally changes when you add things back on top of it. Completely transforms the background. I know a lot of people say they're nervous to try mixed media, and then when they make a background, it's kind of scary because it's so much. But when you add everything back on top of it, it transforms into something awesome. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive foam behind the title because I want to pop it up off the page. And then I decided to go a step further on the background, and we're going to add some texture. And I'm going to use Paige's Star Confetti stencil. I'll link her stencils down below as well. She has some really awesome stencils, and I think I've used all of them on different pages throughout since she started making the stencils, and they are awesome. And I love these stars, and I felt like I could tie this into a Halloween theme, and so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm using white modeling paste because I want these stars to be white. I love how that looks. As soon as I pulled that stencil up, I thought, oh, this really does look like a night sky with the stars. So I'm going to keep going and kind of do this in a random pattern from top to bottom and just kind of make it look like a starry night. And yeah, stencils are a fun way to use mixed media. This is just another option to add texture to a background. It's very simple. You just scrape the paste right over the top. I'm using a little palette knife there to do that. And that application, I kind of pressed too hard and I smushed some of the stars, so they kind of came out looking like came out looking like little circles. So I'm using my little scoopy tool there. That's not really what it's called, but I call it a scoopy tool. And I kind of help some of the stars back into their shape and then let it dry. I love how that looks. Just the difference in the stars, it really makes the background come to life. And I think it really does make it look like a dark and stormy night. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of interest to the pumpkin. I'm going to smudge some white gesso on it, just using my finger there. And then I'm going to come back in with that gray spray that I used, the gray flannel. Just spray a little bit onto my desk and then use a brush to add some shadowing and some distressing to this pumpkin. And I think just this little bit of gray gives it some shadowing, makes it look a little more weathered and not such a flat orange color. Just adding in something as simple as that can really transform something that is simple, you know. I think it gives that pumpkin texture and dimension, even though it's still a flat pumpkin, you know. Just adding in that little bit of color really changes the effect of it. So this is just white tissue paper. I like to add that behind my photos. It gives it a nice, uneven, torn little layer behind the pictures there. And it's not something that you notice right away when you look at it, but it does kind of help separate the photos from the background. I'm going to pop these up with some adhesive foam because the cut file is popped up and the background is very textured and bumpy. So I want to make sure that the photos are not glued down directly to that because I don't want the photos to look bumpy. So the adhesive foam kind of helps them stay flat. Okay, so now what I thought, I was going to take the background a step further and bring that deep blue color into the background because I felt like, okay, I need to add a little bit of blue. You see the first P in happy, it's got that dark blue up there at the top part of it. I felt like I needed to bring that color down to the bottom. So I'm going to do that with another Shimmerz, and that is called Deep Blue Sea. And at first I thought, okay, I think I just messed this up. I should have just left it black. But I keep going, and I feel like this really does make a difference once it's done because it does add a little bit more of the starry night effect to the background. And I love how it looks right behind the pink H. Once I put the cut file back, you can see it again. But I love how it's so dark. It really makes the pink stand out. And I feel like this whole dark background just makes everything pop off the page. I was so excited to see this come together because I was very apprehensive when I added all that black and gray in the beginning. But yeah, I think it turned out surprisingly better than I imagined. And I love when that happens because sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it turns out a disaster. And it's depressing because you had this great image in your mind and then you make it and you think, oh, well, that's just great. This looks terrible. But then when you get the opposite effect and it turns out way better than you thought, it's so exciting. I love that. And this is one of those layouts that turns out better than I was expecting. So without everything on top of it, looks like a hot mess, but we're going to add everything back and it's going to look great, I think. All right, I'm ready to glue. So I'm going to add my glue to the cut file there. And this is Scotch tacky glue that I'm using in my fine liner bottle there. Love the glue, love the bottle. I'm going to glue this down. I kind of stuck it too low. I think I'm going to move it up here in just a second. Yeah, I did. I moved it up just a little bit. So the title is good. I'm going to wedge my photo kind of underneath the perfect little nestling spot there. And then I'm going to overlap the other photo on top of the first photo because there's a lot of open space behind where I'm standing. And I feel like you can still see me in the middle photo, but I didn't cover up anything special by overlapping the other photo. I'm going to use a couple of things to add small details there. I just cut in half a little pink label die cut and just added that sliver of pink on the outside of the photos there. Just a very, very subtle layer. And then I really liked this puffy smile word sticker, and I'm going to put it on the pumpkin. Even though it's very hard to see, in the end you can see the detail. It's just a tone-on-tone detail there, and I love that. Kind of gives the pumpkin a little something extra. And then this sticker says Beautiful Moments, and I liked it because it's that dark blue color. And I'm going to add a couple of different color things down here where the photos converge. I'm going to kind of bring things to a point, because I feel like my title is done. You know, Happy Halloween serves as the title, and it serves as this big colorful design element, and I love that. It's one of my favorite things about using cut files, especially ones like this, because it dictates your whole layout for you. You know, it instantly told me where my photos could go, and so once I had that done, it was just a matter of making the background and now adding embellishments, and I really love that aspect of cut files. Now, another way that you could do this cut file is you could bring the cut file down lower, and you see on either side of the word happy, you have open spots there. You could use 2 photos there as well. So just another idea. I can't wait to see what the other girls have made with this cut file, because lots of options. I'm going to use the word fun here, mainly because it was pink and it was small, and I liked how it looked on top of the thread that I just added. I added some yellow and some orange thread, so I felt like the fun word was perfect for that. Then I decided to add in some hearts because I wanted something small and colorful, and I went through the 6x8 paper pad, and this sheet of multicolored hearts was perfect. So I'm going to fussy cut out some coordinating colors of those to kind of layer on the sides of the photos there. Got a blue one, a yellow one, and they have multicolored or multiple colors in these hearts, and so they were perfect. And they're small, and I did leave a little bit of a white border around them to help them stand out a little bit more. And yeah, I like small embellishments like this, because in a case of this layout, I feel like, you know, the cut file and the photos take up so much space. I don't really have a lot of excess room for big embellishments, and so I'm looking for small things, and those hearts were perfect. And that's another plus about getting the 6x8 paper pad, is you get a lot of the big patterns just in smaller scale, so it's perfect for things like this. All right, I added in another fun word from that puffy phrase sticker sheet, and it's yellow, so it's another color, perfect to add down there at the bottom. And what I'm doing there now is adding in a little tiny strip of orange from a pattern paper underneath the center photo there, just to add a pop of something there, because I do have a lot of darkness going down at the bottom, so I'm looking for brighter things here. Some more small details to add. I found a couple more die cuts from the ephemera pack there. I'm trying to fix the edge of my picture under the pumpkin. This is a little die cut tab that says today. I couldn't decide if I wanted the photo on top of the pumpkin or the pumpkin on top of the photo, so I was kind of fidgeting with it and finally got it fixed. These are some little tabs that I'm going to stick on the sides of the photos there, just for little pops of color. And those are those little small details that you don't see right away, but once you look at it closely, you kind of notice that it adds pop of color to that area. More stickers. I'm going to add this little sticker that says fun at the top for a pop of pink and a little bit of yellow up there above happy. And I don't want to add too much more because I don't want to cover up any more of the background, but I do decide to go with a couple more stars. So I pulled out 2 small star punches from my stash, and I'm going to use a couple of those same papers and just continue on with the star theme and add in a couple of those around the page. I love that pattern paper there, the blue watercolor paper. Oh my goodness, I have a couple of copies of it. This is going to be the one copy that I cut from or punch from, because I want to use one of the sheets for a background or something at some point. It's one of those papers that I'm hoarding. You know, I'm hoarding a lot of this collection. I may or may not have purchased it twice so I could use it and then hoard it. Okay, I just admitted that. Yep, I do that. I do that. I can't help it. I just never want to run out of it. It's so beautiful. I love this collection. It's just, oh, I love it so much. I'm going to pop up some of the stars and then start to glue them down. I love the pops of color from the stars. And I love that you can still see the background. And I was so happy with how this turned out. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed making this. And I hope it gives you some ideas. I'm almost done here. You can kind of see the texture there. It's so bumpy. I love modeling paste. It gives you something really, really fun to touch when you see the layout and to, you know, just see the texture that it creates. I decided to add my journaling kind of under the EEN of the cut file because there really wasn't another good spot to do that. So I'm going to use my black fine tip Sharpie for that because I've got lots of black going on, so it makes sense to do that. But that's going to wrap it up. I really, really love how this turned out. I feel like you can still, you know, get the idea that it's a Halloween layout, but I'm excited about the colors and I'm excited about how the background turned out. So I really want to make another dark background. It was just fun to do. And you can also see some of the texture there shining through from the textured cardstock. Lots of detail shots here. You can see all the bumpy texture and the dimension since I popped so many things up. And some of the stars smushed because, like I said, I pressed too hard. But in the end, you can still tell they're stars, I think. So let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I'll link below the cut files. I'll link below everything that I've used on this layout so you can check it out and get your hands on it if you want it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great Halloween and a great weekend, and I will see you next time.